Hello and welcome to Roy's Retro Reviews, the review show where I review older games because I have free time and I feel like it. This week's episode is Comix Zone, which originally came out in 1995 for the Sega Genesis. This is one of the last games to come out for the Sega Genesis, as the PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, and N64 were either out or coming out at this time. So a lot of people didn't really get to play this or really even heard of it because of this. It's kind of like Persona 4, where it came out at the end of the PlayStation 2 era, which is a shame because Persona 4 is amazing, as if you've heard me talk on the podcast or anytime I bring up Persona 4, I say. So a lot of people missed out on this game. So with that, let's get into the retro review. So the story of Comix Zone is you play as Sketch Turner, who's an artist living in New York, and one of his creations, Mortis, grabs him and throws him into the comic, and basically he's trying to kill him by drawing things and being mean. He's doing this so he can basically come to life in the real world, and it's up to Sketch to basically get out of the comic and save the post-apocalyptic world in this. As soon as he shows up, he's mistaken as the Chosen One, and he can turn into kind of a buff superhero every now and then. But anyway, as a kid playing this game, I didn't really care about the story. I didn't understand what was going on, other than I was a guy from the real world in a comic book. That's all I cared about. I liked the idea of playing in a comic book. I was into comic books as a kid, mostly Batman at this point in my life. I really liked Batman. Still do, but more so in like the mid-90s. And it was just a cool concept. It was fun. I got to beat him up. It played a lot like Battletoads, Double Dragon, Power Rangers game, except you couldn't move it up and down in the platform, but it was basically just punch bad guys. There wasn't a whole lot to it. You also got a rat companion. That was also cool. But I never really got that far into the game. I think I got to level 2, and that was about it. Due to this game is pretty hard. Saying that, though, I never stopped playing it. I mean, I never bought the game because I had limited funds when I was a kid. But every chance I got to rent it, I'd usually rent this towards the end of the lifespan because there was nothing else really out that I wanted to play. So I just kept coming back and back to it, and I always had a lot of fun, and I was always trying to push it further and further until I got an N64 that I stopped caring. But it was a fun game. I really did enjoy playing this as a kid.
Well done, Turner. Oh, yeah.
Playing it now is interesting, mostly due to the fact that I found out why the game is hard. One of the worst things and mechanics in this game that I found out during my recent playthrough is anytime you punch a wall or grab the background to make a paper plane item throw, or have to do something that involves you punching a solid object, you lose health. And there are certain points in this game to where you're forced to punch things. Now, you can get away with this with having certain items in your inventory, but odds are you're not going to have them out all the time. So you're slowly going to whittle down your health, and you only usually get about one health item per area, which really jacks up the difficulty of this game. Which is a shame, because there's other ways they could have made this game difficult without this stupid, you're losing health. And the other problem is when you go in between, until you finish a level, because each level, or I think it's called the night or chapter or whatever, is consistent of 2 pages. Once you beat page 2, you get full health. Until you do that, you're based on that first health bar, and it's one of the stupidest mechanics in this game, and I don't really like it. The other system in this game that I don't care for is the block system that they gave the enemies. I'm fine with them being able to block. The problem is they'll be able to block and then counter you, and you can't do that same thing. You can't block a few and then counter. You can't do that. Which, once again, artificially inflates difficulty because, I'm glad you just can't wail on them. I mean, if it was like that, I'd probably have that issue where it's just too easy. But I should have been able to get, like, kind of a small counter or quick block kind of thing, or dodge mechanic, to give me a little bit more combat variations other than just punch and block. But once again, this is, the Sega Genesis era. They didn't have, making games back then wasn't as complicated as it is today. Simpler time. But anyway, the other things I like to do or like now that I appreciate more is the multiple paths. I do like how in certain panels you'll have an option to go, down or right or left or down or something like that. And there's multiple ways you can do this game. It's a lot of fun and adds a little bit more replayability than most other games would, especially in the side-scrolling beat-em-up genre. There's also puzzles in these games that are really dumb. You get a rat who helps you solve said puzzles and will find hidden items in the background. The rat's kind of cool. The problem I have with the rat is it takes up an inventory space, and if you're not carrying the rat with you at all times, you're missing out on a lot of stuff. The other problem I have is, once again, going back to kind of the health situation, is you only get one life. If you die, that's it. There's no continue, no nothing, until you beat a page, and then you get one continue. And those can stack. So, I mean, if you go through chapters 1, 2, and 3 without dying, on the 4th chapter, you'll have 3 continues if you continuously die, which is cool. The other thing in this game that I don't know if I'm okay with it or like is, once again, kind of going back to the items. There's not a lot of variety of items. There's really just the bomb, the health potion, and there's a knife and superpowers. That's it. I don't think there's enough of them to really, get past 4 or 3 items. But none of them really, I mean, you get one use out of them and they're very situational. Like, you don't want to use them because you need them so you don't take damage on punching stuff, which is, once again, dumb. What else? I think that's pretty much it. The game's still enjoyable, but it's just the kind of artificial difficulty where you lose health and don't have any continuations and have to do it over and over and over again gets really old really quick. So yeah, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything else in this game that I can think of to say. So we'll just leave it at that. Oh, that's right. The other problem with the game is really short. There we go. That is the last thing I wanted to say. Comix Zone is not exactly the swan song I think this Genesis wanted to go out on. While it is fun, it's the artificial difficulty of it being hard just because you lose health from doing stupid things, like just punching things, and also the enemies can block and counter and stuff like that. Artificially inflate this game's difficulty to make it not so enjoyable, especially without the chance to continue. So you're pretty much going to be doing the first level over and over and over and over again, maybe it's the second, third. And if you're lucky to beat the game, I think this playthrough I got to chapter 3. You just have to start over, so it loses a lot of its charm after the 3rd, 4th playthrough with limited places. Just in terms of modern gaming, it doesn't hold up real well with some of the mechanics in it. So with that, we'll get into the rating. So unlike the rule of 3 reviews, I use a different review system. I use what's called the nostalgia factor thingy, and there's 4 ratings on this factor. Classic means the game was great when it came out originally. It's still fun today. You should find a ROM or find a way to play the game. It's very enjoyable. Fond memories is I enjoyed the game as a kid, but playing it now, I mean, there's a lot of problems and issues I have with the game. Or, it's just not as fun as I remember it or something like that. So, it's something I enjoy playing, but it's not the greatest thing ever or necessarily really fun for others, probably. Why didn't I like this is the 3rd, which is the complete opposite. I didn't care for it as a kid. I'm playing it now and trying to figure out why I didn't like it. There are very few of these I found. Once again, we'll probably see a few of these pop up soon. But anyway, it's just, don't know why I didn't like them as a kid. But they're fun now. Still not quite classic, but probably in that cult area. And the last one is terrible. As terrible as these games were bad when they came out, they're still bad today. Comix Zone is a fond memories. I enjoyed this, I enjoy playing this game still, but it's not nearly as fun as I remember, and there's a lot of things that really irk me about it now. So that's it for Comix Zone. Next up is, I don't know, I'm actually thinking of doing a new system for how I do these games. If you want to leave a comment below on a game that you would like me to do a retro review on, as long as it's from the NES to You can probably maybe get into PS2, Xbox, GameCube era. Somewhere in there, I should be able to do those ones. If you want to leave a comment below, do so. If you want to see if there's any specific game you want me to review, you can. Other than that, we'll see what the next one is. Leave a comment, like I said. Like us on Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Check out ruler3.com where I post all our videos, editorials, news, all the fun stuff. Like I said, we have a podcast on Sunday. Usually a podcast on Monday, but the two people doing that are having some issues and coordinating. They're trying to get better. And we have some Let's Plays that might be coming out within the next, maybe by the end of March, probably the first episode of one of them. We're just trying to get as much as we can do before we start posting that we have something to post. So that's it for this review. And until next time, play some old games. They're fun. Not all of them, but some of them are. And nostalgia is always good. So that's it. Always remember to trust in the rule of 3.